Now, Apple and Samsung are doing it again. They are doing battle with this time foldables, what we call in the passport fold or wide fold. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is basically what is happening between the two manufacturers. Who's coming out first? Who is copying who? And what we can expect from these two major manufacturers when it comes to the wide fold. Let's go. So Samsung and Apple are coming out with the fold, and we've known for a while that Apple has been creating a fold. At least there's been talk about it for quite some time. I'd say over a year or two that they were going to bring a folding phone into the mix. Now, as we know, it's called something like the iPhone Ultra. They don't want to call it just the iPhone Fold. And it has its own unique design where it's foldable. And a lot of the specs that they're saying in the media is that it's going to be crease free and be like one solid sheet of glass like no other. Now, that's not exactly true when we look at the Oppo Find N6. There's like nearly no crease in it whatsoever. So Apple's not going to be the first, although they're claiming to. So that's still to be seen. And then we know that Samsung is also coming out with their wide fold, which is actually going to look very similar to the Z Fold. It's just shrunken down. Now, Samsung did display a creaseless phone back in 2025 at one of their events. And as you can see here, it's got quite a bit of crease in here. Not as much as years before, but the Z Fold 7, it's still got quite a bit of crease, especially when you compare it to something like the Oppo Find N6. So hopefully they're going to bring that creaseless design that they showed at one of their events to the Z Fold 8 wide, or I think they're calling it just the Z Fold 8, and they're calling the standard, what we're used to, the Ultra. Now here's where everything gets kind of funny, and I don't quite understand it. You have Samsung calling theirs the Z Fold 8 Ultra, which is going to basically be a Z Fold 7 with a new chip. And then Apple's calling their foldable a Ultra, where these are just your pros. And then isn't an Ultra above a Pro? And I think it's probably because they're saying it's much more than just a phone, because you can use it as a tablet, I guess, giving you more Ultra use. But as far as cameras go, let's talk about cameras on both of these. They're both going to just have two lenses. They're going to have their standard lens, which we're assuming they're going to be 50 megapixel lenses on both of them, similar to that on the Z Fold. Although the Z Fold may put a 200 megapixel camera in it as their main shooter, and I think they'd be shooting themselves in the foot if they didn't. And then the second camera is going to be an ultra wide. But if they stay with the 50 and 50, that's going to be right there along lines of the iPhone's Fold. Now, who started it first? We don't know. We just know that Samsung partnered with Apple a couple of years ago to make their first foldable. And of course, I'm sure Samsung keeps tabs on what's going out of their factory, because they're making the screens for them and everything, and a lot of the parts. So I'm sure Samsung is just using those with theirs. Or who knows, maybe Samsung was using their design to help Apple. We really don't know. But what we do know is Samsung is going to come out with theirs first, probably sometime in July, where Apple's going to follow sometime supposedly in September, but it's rumors that it's been pushed to later in the year, so it may end up being the first of next year. Now, back to the design of these things. We got to where we have now these phones, these foldables anyway, with pins. Like this is the pin for the Honor Magic. And then, of course, we have that thinner one now for the Motorola Fold, which is right here. And this one's actually much thinner. And you have a similar size, of course, for the Oppo Find N6. Now, these have made stylus or pins for their phones. Question is Samsung and Apple going to do the same thing? Are they going to add pins? Apple, talk about their pin. They won't put a stylus on their phones. They have the Apple Pencil, though, for their tablets, and they actually have one for the iPad mini. So if this is going to open up to the size of an iPad mini, why might they not put a pen or make a pen available or put a digitizer on it? We just don't know. It could be expensive. They may try and save money. Who knows? But as far as phones go, Apple refuses to add a stylus to a phone. Whereas Samsung used to have the stylus for their folds. And then, as we know, with the Z Fold 7, they took it away. And as far as we know right now, it's still not going to be available on the Z Fold 8. Will it be on the wide or the ultra? We don't know. That could be one of the ultra features of it. No, this one's the ultra. I'm sorry. See, I'm so confused on that. The wide, that could be one of the features that it does come with a stylus, but I highly doubt it. So that's interesting. I'm thinking that both manufacturers are going to come out with their wide tablets or their wide folds and not have a stylus. So they're going to be behind the times on phones like the Oppo Find N6 or the new Motorola Razr Fold. So everybody, or some anyway, are moving to that wide forward factor. We have rumors that Oppo was going to do the same thing, but we haven't heard anything for a while. Heard rumors that Magic may do the same thing, or Honor, and we haven't heard anything for a while, so that may not be so. Maybe everybody's just going to wait around and see how Apple does, because typically when Apple moves into the market with a device, it really blows up. But that wasn't quite the case with the iPhone Air. It just kind of sat there in the air and didn't really explode. But we'll see. Maybe the Fold will, because a lot of Apple users are leaving Apple to get these folds from manufacturers like Samsung or Oppo because they're tired of waiting on Apple. So let's see what they do. And I'm shocked that they're going to come out and actually limit it just to cameras, which to me, that kind of lessens the value right away. But we know maybe they're trying to save money. I don't know why Apple tries to save money, but maybe they're trying to make them more compatible in the market financially. Now it's time to hear from you. What do you think? Is this something that Apple and Samsung are battling with? Is it just a coincidence? Or do you think that one is going to be better than the other? Let me know down in the comments. What do you think? Now, if you want to know more about phones such as the Oppo or the Motorola Razr, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can check out all those videos. For now, check out one of my most recent videos on the Motorola Razr Fold right here. Until next time, have a wonderful day and God bless.